Let's go straight to my next guest, Rick Gates. He's former deputy campaign manager for Donald Trump way back in 2016, the election he won. He's hoping to win again, of course, this November. He'll be up against Kamala Harris. How will he fare? Well, Rick Gates, thank you so much for joining us. Do you think, first of all, now that Kamala Harris is guaranteed now to get that Democrat nomination, got over the line, more than half of the delegates for the Republican convention in Chicago next month already committed to her overnight last night, do you think that overall that Trump will be happier or sadder to be facing Kamala Harris rather than Joe Biden?
Well, look, I think Joe Biden would have been the easier path to victory. But certainly the Republicans and Donald Trump's campaign has been planning for an alternative candidate for quite some time. Some of the Democrats in Washington had said this has taken everybody by surprise. That's not actually true. There has been a effort underway to identify alternative candidates months ago. Kamala Harris is obviously one of those in the mix. Yeah. Certainly the Democrats have shored up their process very quickly to go from Sunday having a president that was going to be in the race to then dropping out and having Kamala basically being appointed, by today is a pretty quick process. But at the end of the day, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they're the same administration, they're the same ticket. So a lot of their same policies and policy failures are going to be the target, for the Trump campaign.
And
those are still going to resonate with voters.
Yeah, we've already seen that, haven't we? We've already had some, the Trump campaign videos talking about Kamala. And again, she's been fully signed up to everything Biden has done. And in particular, before we talk about some of the policies, let's talk about the idea of who she's going to pick for her vice presidential candidate. She, of course, was a diversity pick. Biden was very clear, I'm going to pick a woman as my number two, and then it was made very, very clear unofficially, but it was going to be a woman of colour, full stop. That's why she got the gig. She has not been played very heavily by the Trump White House. They've kind of sidelined her, given her some dud jobs like doing the border control, which they knew she'd fail on, and barely been used. We know they didn't rate her. They were going to try and dump her for this election campaign, but she is in the running. It's now being reported that she'll be choosing a white man to balance the ticket. Does this not epitomise the obsession with diversity, with the stuff that actually most American voters, and likewise British voters, really don't care about, that the Democrats are absolutely obsessed with?
Yeah, there's no question about it. You look at Joe Biden not only picked for vice president and Kamala Harris, but how he said he was going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court as well. This idea of kind of identity politics has taken hold in America, and it's created some problems for the Democrats now. I think, there's who should she pick and who will she pick? I mean, there are very good candidates on the Democratic side. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, which is a key battleground state. However, he is a Jewish Democrat, and obviously the Biden administration has problems with the Palestinian-Gaza conflict. So I think that's probably going to isolate him. Then there's Mark Kelly in another battleground state, which is in Arizona, and Democrats need those votes desperately. But in your point, they're mostly white men. I think Gretchen Whitmer might be the only female governor in the mix. But they all have endorsed Kamala, and I expect that she'll pick one of them that she needs to win a key battleground state.
Overall, I would have thought that Donald Trump, and of course his campaign would have been preparing for the chances of Joe Biden standing down, whether actually they'd probably preferred if he'd stayed on. But Kamala Harris is surely the much easier candidate to run against than perhaps an untried, untested presidential candidate. We know how she did as a presidential candidate. She didn't even get through to the first vote in the Democratic primaries last time round. I mean, she has been an abject failure on that front. She has, various mannerisms which Donald Trump has already picked out. The cackling. I mean, she does. As a woman, I look at her as a woman and think, oh my God. I mean, everyone has vocal tics and mannerisms. She has all of them. It is quite extraordinary. Why she hasn't sort of had some media training to sort that out, I do wonder. And the fact that she talks in utter word salad most of the time, isn't perhaps a quick thinker on her feet, despite having all these qualifications and previous track record as a prosecutor that would suggest she'd be good at that stuff. Do you think that she holds any particular concerns for Donald Trump when he presumably has the TV debates with her and comes up against her face to face?
Yeah, certainly one of the things that she's going to do, she's a prosecutor, an attorney by trade, and she will frame it as she's the prosecutor and Donald Trump is the convicted. She will try to make that a big piece of her campaign. And I think that if she does that, she will fail. The good news about Kamala Harris is that she was very undefined in 2020. She was a VP pick, so they don't get a lot of attention. She, as you said, has been untested. And in the test that she's failed on immigration, she's failed on foreign policy. So I think she is presenting a great candidate for Republicans to attack. Immigration obviously is the #2 issue in our country right now. Economy 1. You're not going to hear Kamala talking a lot about those because she knows she has a poor track record. So look, this is all in all, I think, a great candidate. Out of all the candidates that could have been picked, there were some formidable governors that I think would have been much better candidates and would have done much better against Donald Trump. The Democrats decided to tie this up pretty quickly with Kamala. I think that's going to be a mistake down the road.
Well, this is interesting because I would have thought on paper, looking at it, Gretchen Whitmer is looking to me like the one who could have actually been a serious threat. Of course, only 100 days to campaign. It's to sort of get it all going before November. Not really very long to get a campaign started. But do you take it the fact that so many of the other big players, the Gretchen Whitmers, Josh Shapiro, he endorsed Gavin Newsom in California, that they did not put themselves forward as a rival, have not been making a big play, that actually they want to sit this one out? They don't believe the Democrats can win against Donald Trump in November?
Yeah, look, the good news is that this is a one-term presidency for, Donald Trump. I mean, whether, he wins or loses, it's only 4 years maximum. So I think the Democrats are looking at that next generation. And a lot of people are saying, hey, look, Joe Biden created this mess. He's going to tank the Democrats in November. Why do we want to be a part of that? Let's step in after the fact, and then we can rebuild. And that's exactly what a lot of these other candidates are doing. And you're going to see them, I think, campaigning. And look, if one of them is asked to be vice president for Kamala Harris, they'll step in, they'll do it, because they're asked. But at the same time, they're thinking about their own political futures as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and their own rivalries. We shall see. And what did you make of all the, was it $230 million in donations suddenly appearing within 24 hours? Is that a sign that people absolutely believe she can win, or is there desperation in there, or is that, I suspect, an awful lot of money that would have been given to Joe Biden sooner, but the donors were going, whoa, we're not sure this guy's up to it?
That's exactly right. That was a lot of withheld money, a lot of money that was being leveraged as a threat against Biden, and that he didn't pull out, that money would not be released. Yeah. So now what you're seeing is just that natural release of the funds. No surprise there, not worried about it. In fact, I thought it would have been more than it is. And it's certainly not keeping up with the amount that Donald Trump has been able to raise over the last 3 months.
You convinced that Donald Trump will be the next president?
Yeah, look, I went through a lot of polling data yesterday, and based on the numbers, remember, I've always said this race is going to come down to 6 states, and it's going to come down to those moderates and independents in those states. And looking at the polling data yesterday, Donald Trump is in a very, very good spot. Look, the campaigns, the election's not until November, so there's a lot of time to go. Anything can happen, but I would put my money on Donald Trump right now.
Well, this thing you say, the moderates, the independents, and again, we've got the same debate here in the UK. Governments are, get elected based on the centre ground. Well, where is that centre ground? Is what people are trying to decide. You could argue, Donald Trump not very good at the centre ground stuff. Even when he started off with his speeches, he accepted the speech at the Republican National Convention. He kind of veered off and went back to the old Trumpian territory. Kamala Harris, of course, has the same issue as, again, this obsession with diversity politics, the trans thing, everything. She I don't think she's centrist either. American voters have been saying for a very long time they don't really want, I'm pretty sure they don't want Kamala Harris. They didn't want Biden. They don't want Trump. They're crying out for something more. Why are they not able to get it?
Yeah, look, it's the way our process works. It's the primary process you have to go through. I think a lot of Republicans would say we had a lot of good candidates in the primaries, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, and many others. And they were not able to break through that primary process where it defines early on where those voters are in key states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina that are going to support, the primary nominee. And so I think as we look forward, in order to let new generations in, let new people in, you're going to have to do something, to fix the process, because it excludes a lot of good candidates on both sides.
And the main thing after that, after November the 5th, well, January the 20th, when they get into office, is to actually fix the country, because there is an awful lot going wrong in the States at the moment.
There's plenty going wrong in the states. Obviously, economy and immigration are the top two on the list. Yeah. And Donald Trump, I think, will work very quickly to get that done.
We shall see. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. Thank God you've got a much more interesting election campaign than we've had here in the UK. Rick Gates, thank you so much for joining us. I know you had to dash off a plane to speak to us. Really appreciate that. Former Deputy Campaign Manager for Donald Trump in 2016.